live. Another random time to be live, and I will wait to see who shows up. Not who, just live. And muting my microphone so everybody doesn't hear me in stereo and on delay. I'm going to wait to see some responses in the chat before I start reading stories to myself. Hello, Paul Kate. Hello. Was this a better time for you? I saw a lot of people mad the other day when I had a live stream. I think it was on a Sunday morning. When did I do that? No, it was last Saturday morning. Yeah. Hey, Element. I just got done editing the Willows Part 3 for Patreon. And everybody in my house is wide awake, so I figured since I'm wide awake too right now, I would live stream to see if anybody else was out there. I've already picked out some stories and set them aside for us. I can't remember the title. It's supposed to be 50 of the craziest. Of course, I didn't pick all 50. I just grabbed the first, I think, 20 I could find and just stuck them in a Word document. We'll scan through them and see which ones are good. When I was scanning through these, they seemed pretty good. So how's everyone's week going? Or how did your week go? I'll say it that way. How'd your week go? Somebody just ran into the bathroom door. It's not funny. Can you hear me? Okay, Brian Morrow. Oh my goodness. Hello. This must be a better time for me to stream, eh? I'll just say this. I'm glad this week is over. Although I have a lot of projects planned for myself around the house, that still seems like it'll be better. To busy myself with stuff. Thank God it's the weekend, I know. All day Thursday from the time I got out of bed until the end of the day, I thought it was Friday. Of course, I constantly corrected myself, but that's the worst feeling. I've always said that I feel like Thursday is to Friday, like Skipper is to Barbie. Hey, Antonio, Elena, hello. Friday night is good for streaming. I see that. It's 11:30 where I'm at, and I've been up since 6:30. Actually, I was up before that. I think I was awake probably about 4 and then did that half awake, half asleep thing on and off for the next 2 hours after that. So I can't wait to sleep in tomorrow. Friday night is good for streaming. Awesome. Elena, are you Minster, Elena? So that you're a Patreon patron? And Antonio, I just finished editing and uploaded the Willows Part 3. So patrons, go and listen to that. I did the whole chapter in one swoop. So hopefully that's a little bit more enjoyable than broken into 2 parts. I don't know if anybody else has ever read The Willows before, because I haven't. And it's an older story, but man, it seems like it's getting it really over explains it, but not in an unenjoyable way, but it just gets right inside the head of a crazy person or someone who's spiraling. I guess that's what I would describe it as. Hey, Phantom Zone. Hello. So we've got some scary stories set aside. I was just asking everybody, you're the other Elena. The other Elena. I was asking everybody how their week went. The consensus is everyone's glad it's the weekend. Thank God for Friday. Hello, kitty. $8:35 in Modesto, California. All the Californians And they would always talk about how they got to each destination in great detail on which highway they took. So Element says, hey, there is this video, 25 2-sentence horror stories that are actually scary from list 25. I've heard them all. It's like after you do horror and love horror, it's like I'm constantly, what's the word? Constantly looking for new blood, if you know what I mean. Like, if you've seen it, I probably saw it 2 years ago. I'm literally always looking for new stuff I haven't heard of. Story times are, sometimes I feel like it's extremely elaborated. I don't know what to trust. I know that when it doesn't involve like a monster of some sort per se, that it seems to be more realistic. My cat is meowing in the background when I'm literally right by her. Hey, thank you. My hair is in a bun. I've got on my Stranger Things t-shirt and some capri yoga pants. So, hey, sexy is open to interpretation. And my big, huge glasses. The video is only 3 weeks old. I know, but all the 2-sentence horror stories are super old. But I mean, whatever you like, you know. You like horror, definitely. You can tell everybody what channel it's on, list 25. My kitty is super, super lonely, but I'm literally right here. I'm not sure why she keeps doing that. We have 2 black cats. Hot crossed buns. Oh, that's really nice, Elena. I don't know how that's, I looked down for a second and totally missed that. Brian says, I read The Willows early in my exploration of short horror fiction. There's so much horror that's really, really good. Antonio, I just saw that you requested The Raven for your birthday read, because if you're on Patreon, if you're not on Patreon, whatever, created birthday club, so if you're a patron, you can request something read for you, and I can either read that for all the patrons to hear, or I can just send it to the patron that requested it in a file for themselves. And Antonio requested The Raven, and I've had that up so many times ready to read it, so I'm glad I didn't read it for my channel yet. So it's up to Antonio whether everyone else hears it on Patreon, that is. Chris says, what do you think about the Golden State Killer being caught? I think that probably if people stop assuming that a killer looks a certain way, would have got caught sooner. Or that assuming that because someone holds a certain position or a certain position in society, that they're less likely to kill. If you look at a lot of the people that are in the Serial Killer Saturday series, you'll see that a lot of them are held, it's kind of like a 50-50. Like half of them seem to be always on the outskirts of society and the black sheep of the family, or the complete opposite. No one suspected they were a killer. Yeah, just maybe don't make assumptions. Yep, squirrel. Ooh, my kitty is trying to shut down the stream, you guys. If it was not for the DNA, they would have never got him. Yeah. Oh, that's really nice, Antonio. Oh, well, patrons, if you heard that, Antonio said it's okay if everybody hears The Raven. I'm kissing my cat on the head. She's just watching the screen. All right. So I picked out some stories for us, and they are better than the other ones. But again, if if a story turns out to be crap halfway through, I won't make us go on with the torture of it. Let's see here. Are you guys ready to dive in? Or does anybody else have anything else to mention? Hey, yeah, my for the longest time I used Windows Movie Maker, which was totally free with your computer, but it was taking forever to upload the video that I wanted to use, and it wouldn't save anything. So I thought maybe it needed an upgrade, and when I went to update it, it said that they don't make it anymore. So then I had to go on this search. And anyways, if anybody has like used a certain kind of software for a long time and then you go to use something else, it takes a while to get your groove with it. So I'm really hoping that I pick up the groove, because I'm really looking forward to the serial killer that I am going to do. Oof, it's a nasty one. All right, Antonio says, let's dive in. I requested one for birthday club, but it felt a bit awkward because of your personal illness at the time. No, I did see, I have it all saved in a file, Brian, each one. Plus it's all in everyone's messages that they send through Patreon. For Redwall, hello. Redwall, Window Movie Makers was my shit. Yes, it was. And so Ozzy, or he's Ozzy the Myth and Celestial Nor. I asked him which one was the most similar, and he said Filmora's, what's it called again? Wondershare's Filmora. So you'll see. My first one's probably going to be rough, because I got so used to the ease of it, but the Filmora's version looks really similar, and it looks like it has a few more effects that I was really hoping that the Movie Maker just never had. So Element says they're catching a lot more killers thanks to the ancestrytree.com. Just saying. Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot of genetic evidence analyzation that's available now that wasn't available a long time ago. And yeah. See, what is the difference between a podcast and what I do on Patreon, which is just audio? Please elaborate, because I'm always wondering what's the difference. A podcast is just a recording of you talking, right? So like do a podcast where me and other narrators talk about things, or me and a few subscribers talk about a few things, and then record it for you guys to hear, or elaborate. Elena says, I've been watching YouTube Lahenna with her coverage of the Turpin case. Turpin. My brain is just totally blank right now. I don't know what's happening. Luke C. Hey! Yo, Duchess. Oh my gosh, I can't even read that. Oh, this is going to be fun. Luke, what's up? Am I surprised to see who ends up finding the stream? I tried to put it on as many things, but I forgot to put it on Instagram, and I forgot to put it on Snapchat, but I did put it on Facebook and Twitter to see who would want to see it. So my throat is a little sore, which I'm hoping will pass. So you might hear me sipping on my root beer. That's literally just root beer. Okay. I found some stories. Okay, so Antonio says podcasts are live scheduled recordings. Patreon recordings are pre-recorded for ease of use. Okay, so a podcast would be like me just talking about random stuff and not editing it up, basically, which would be the easiest thing on the planet to do. While I'm talking about that, or while we're talking about podcasts, does anybody ever watch Jenna and Julian's podcasts? I think they're the only people I've ever watched a podcast. Like, do you have to see a visual of a podcast? Do you just listen to a podcast? Because I've seen it two different ways. Have you seen Shin Lim on AGT? Nope. Don't know what any of that means. Autumn, what? Okay, I have to go, but I had to pop in. Good night, everyone. Ta-ta. TTFN. Ta-ta for now. You can sometimes. So, yeah, see, do you watch podcasts or do you listen to podcasts? Or do you do either? And do I read a story or do I pick a topic? Which one? What do I do? I'm going to let you guys discuss that while I read the first story, and then I'll check the chat in a minute. All right. All right, here's story number 1. When I was 21, I transferred to a college in San Francisco. I checked out a room for rent on Craigslist. It was in a There's your podcast for you. It was in a really nice 2-bedroom apartment. It was cheap rent and close to campus, so it was the ideal spot. The girl who lived there was 29 and her name was Beth. She was tall and wide, and she had jet black hair and wore pale makeup. She seemed nice, although a little quiet. But she seemed like me and agreed to let me move in. So far, so good. My first night there, we went out for pizza, and that's when I could tell that something was a little bit off about her. Throughout the dinner, she kept telling me how much I looked like Shia LaBeouf. I didn't know what to say, so I just shrugged it off with a thanks. I mean, I looked nothing like Shia LaBeouf, so it didn't make any sense to me. When we got back home, she asked if I had seen her room yet. I said no, and she took me to see it. Her walls were covered in posters of Shia LaBeouf. She even had printed out photos of him all over her mirror. She owned all his movies. I didn't know what to make of it. It was creepy. The whole night she had been saying I looked like him, and now it's obvious to me that she is obsessed with the guy. A few weeks passed, and I never really saw her that much. We didn't spend any time together, really. She would come home from work and practically run to her room. She would spend the whole night in there. She had this creepy, high-pitched giggle, and I would hear giggling through the walls at night. I wondered what the hell she could possibly be doing. Occasionally, she would come out and talk for 2 minutes, and she would always be slurring her words, so I suspected she was drinking a lot. Sometimes she wouldn't say anything, and she would just stand in the hallway and watch me in the living room. I would turn and see her and be surprised and say, "Hello, Beth." And then there would be this long, awkward pause, and she would give out her creepy, high-pitched giggle. It was uncomfortable being around her. She gave me the chills. One night, I woke up at around 2 a.m. because I heard what sounded like the front door being unlocked. I came out of my bedroom, and all the lights were off, but I could still see Beth standing at the front door. She had her face against it, and she was turning the lock back and forth over and over again. And every time she turned the bolt, she mumbled my name. Max Barker, Max Barker, Max Barker. Seeing her standing in the dark and mumbling my name really freaked me out. And it doesn't help that she kind of looks like a bigger version of the girl from The Ring. I just quietly went back to my room and tried to sleep. One night I was watching Gladiator, and she stumbled out of her room and turned on the living room light, forcing me to pause the movie, which was annoying. She then asked me if I wanted to hear about her ex-boyfriend. It was an uneasy seg into the topic, but I just said sure and then awkwardly sat back to listen to her. 10 minutes into her story, and she was so riled up she was screaming at the top of her lungs about their breakup. I was worried that the neighbors were going to call the cops, and she wasn't listening to me when I was asking her to lower the volume. Amidst all of her screaming, one thing she said really freaked me out. She was in such a fit and yelled, "I'll slit his fucking throat." That was a big game changer. Suddenly, I had no idea what this girl was capable of. She was practically a stranger, and everything I had seen was becoming alarmingly disturbing. After a few more minutes, she told me, "Thanks for listening," and she started doing her giggle. I got out of there really fast and went to my room to go to sleep. I had a pretty unsettled feeling about being in the house with her, and what's worse is that there was no lock on my bedroom door. I pushed the edge of my dresser in front of it to act as a little barricade. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of my dresser scraping against the floor. Beth was pushing the door open. I turned on my light, shouting at her to stop. I could see her through the opening of the door. She was so drunk and had this insane look in her eyes. I pushed the door closed and yelled at her to go to bed. I could hear her walk back to her room, but I couldn't fall back to sleep. The next morning when I went out in the hallway and my heart dropped. I saw one of her steak knives was on the floor by my door. I got goosebumps all over my arms. All I could think about was her saying that she would slit that guy's throat. I confronted her about it, and she said she didn't remember trying to push my door open. She said she didn't even remember telling me about her ex. I had enough. My lease was month to month, so I found a new spot and moved out. About a month later, after I moved out, she contacted me. I was at the movies and my phone was off. When I got out, I turned my phone on, and to my shock, I received 40 text messages that she had sent me over the past 2 hours. They were all just insane texts that ranged from everything between, "Hi, how are you?" to, "I fucking hate you." It was insane. I didn't respond, and I never heard from her again. I always wonder if I hadn't set my dresser in front of my door, would she have quietly come into my room and slit my throat? Ooh. Well, what do we think of that one? Was that better than the last set of stories? Kahlest, how dare he go live right after you post a Patreon? That's why I went live, because I was already in here. People can be so weird. They're hard to be. Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. That's funny. Elana says the Turpin case is an alleged child abuse and captivity incident toward the... Oh. Okay, yeah. The children kept inside. Thank you. I knew it sounded familiar, but my mind was completely blank. Thank you, Elana. You heard that one before? I heard something really similar, but it seemed like some of the elements were changed in it, which is ironic element. But yeah, I thought it was really similar too, but it ended differently with the one that I heard that was really similar to that, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice girl, yeah. Heard it before. Fighting for your life with Shia LaBeouf. Oh, no. Next. I think this one's a little shorter, too. And my throat is dying. I feel like I never got my voice back completely from when I got really sick. Was that in May? Jeez. I just feel like it never got its full... I really need to drink some tea with honey or something like that. All right. On to the next one. This says creepy neighbor Keith. I don't think I've heard this one. We'll see if anyone else has heard it this time. All right. At the age of around 6 or 7, I lived next to an old 60-or-so-year-old man named Keith. He would often go running around the streets as he was very fit for his age. At the time, I lived with my grandmother. She was friends with him and often invited him around for a cup of tea and to gossip. Things were fine for a little while, until one day, I looked out of my window in my bedroom, and from my window, I could see clearly into his garden. He was laying on a deck chair, masturbating. As I was a child, I didn't understand. Of course. I assumed he didn't know I was there. The next day, I went to open the curtains in the morning and saw him doing the same thing again. He looked right at me and smiled and carried on. Ew. A few weeks later, with me not mentioning it to my Nan, in case she thought I was lying about it, I continued to see him almost daily. I started to realize it wasn't right when I noticed he would make an effort to make me look, by doing things such as making loud noises outside and shouting my name. Soon after it was my birthday, my Nan invited him around to my party, as most of our neighbors had been invited too. I was alone in the kitchen getting a glass of water when I heard the kitchen door open and saw him walk in. He was wearing gold cycling shorts, which very clearly showed off everything. At the time, I thought it was just a fashion choice, but now I see that he wanted people to look. He said to me, "If you were my daughter, I would never let you leave the house looking so sexy. Thank you for keeping our secret." Okay, let's back up a second. Pause. That means that this was a 7 or 8-year-old child he just said that to. And going back into the story, I don't remember my exact answer, but it was something along the lines of, "Sexy is a bad word." He then proceeded to pull down his shorts, and I panicked and called my Nan. She rushed in to see him standing over me, quickly pulling his shorts up with an erection. Thankfully, I never saw him masturbating after this. My Nan called the police, and he got a warning. In my opinion, that wasn't enough for what he did. I lived next door to this guy for another 6 years. Oh, hell no. Oh my God. Ugh. Has anyone heard that one before? Because I haven't, and that was nasty. Oh, if I would have seen that, I would have hit him in the head with a frying pan and hit his body in the garden. But that's just me. That's just Duchess. I just saw a really dark comedy, like sitcom. But like everyone's trying to always help me hide the bodies. Dun 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 dun. Shh. Anyways, laughing at my own horrible jokes. Moving on. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh God, that story. Wow. Whew. That was nasty. Anyway, next one is titled, "Thank God our house has shitty wiring." I have no idea what to expect from the story, especially after the last two. A few weeks ago, I was moving stuff around in my room and accidentally broke the glass on my window. It was a small crack, and it didn't fully break, but it was enough that cold air and condensation were getting in and making my window ice up. So I threw a space heater in my room to try warming the place up. Now we have an old house, and if we have 2 heaters on at the same time, the fuses blow and shuts off power to the backside of the house. The other night got so particularly cold, so I plugged in the heater to the outlet closest to my bed. This outlet was controlled by the light switch. Sorry. So when I turned on the switch, the heater goes on. It's one of those with dials, not power buttons. When it got time for bed, my room was sufficiently warm, so I turned off the heater. I told my parents my room was warm enough, so they put their heater on for the night. Fast forward to 2 a.m., and I hear some noise in my brother's room. I think nothing of it and shake it off. I just laid there and the noise had stopped, so I lay back down and tried to fall asleep. Then I start hearing noises in the kitchen, which was odd, as nobody would be rummaging through the kitchen drawers at this time of night. I start to get a little worried and check my phone. I see a snap from my brother from about 1 a.m. He was out getting wasted with his friends, so I calmed down and think he just got an Uber. I was wide awake at this point, so I checked my texts and email and got back on Snapchat. This is when I really started freaking out. On the stories, there was my brother, posted 13 minutes ago at a buddy's house, who lived more than 20 miles away. It wasn't him in the house. Reading too many stories, I had put on an old broken hockey stick in my room in case of emergencies. Not the best weapon, but it's what I had. So I quietly get out of bed to turn on a light to find it. I had forgotten my heater was plugged in, so as soon as I flipped on the switch, the light went out, but so did the rest of the power. It also just so happens that on that end of the house was where our CO detector is, and when the power cuts it beeps loud. Whatever the case was, this startled whoever was in the house, and the kitchen door opened quickly. I woke up my parents to let them know what was happening. Once we got the power on, we noticed my brother's bedroom window was wide open. We saw footprints beneath the window, but thankfully the ice had frozen the window shut from the outside. Whoever was in my house climbed into my brother's room, was rummaging around the house. The bags left over under the Christmas tree had been torn through, and all the kitchen drawers were open. Oh, we contacted the police, who took down the information and said this kind of behavior was normal around the holidays. People find empty houses and look for gifts and cash, that sort of thing. I don't know what would have happened if I would have come face to face with this guy. I don't know if that was really scary. I mean, I guess the thought of it would freak you out, but nothing actually happened. Those are the kind of stories I hate. Like, something almost happened, but it didn't. Those are the most annoying stories to me. Like, it builds up to nothing. Wah, wah, wah. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. This thing on? No one heard that before, right? All right, bye, Kahlest. See you. Dumb luck, yeah. Like, what the heck, man? It's not even scary. Let's go with the next one. Let's see what happens. This story better not let us down. Stupid. Anyway. This is titled, "You Know Exactly Who This Is, Darlin'." Okay, anyway. When I was 22, I moved 1,000 miles away from my Midwest home to the beautiful foothills of Tennessee. Okay, the country to country. I had a new job, a new car, a nice apartment, but I didn't know a soul outside of work. If my phone rang, I feel like I've heard this before. Raise your hand if you've heard this before. It's supposed to be the scariest stories you've ever heard. Yeah. Man. I don't know. I've noticed that, it's from Thought Catalog, I've noticed that literally anybody can slap anything together in an article and put their name on it and then get credit as like an author of an article. Like, I can't even believe it. You need absolutely very little talent to be one of those. And what's funny is Thought Catalog has a lot of really, really good writers on there. Like, that's where I found Joel Farrelly, and there's another guy too. They've got some really, really, really good stories on there. And then Thought Catalog has those kinds of things on there where they're just like, I don't know where they're getting these things. Man. I'm going to skip this one because I know I've heard this before. Oh my God. Some dude stalks her, and then she just keeps answering the, like, block the number. Block the number. Simple. Block the number. Do you guys answer the phone when you don't know who's calling you? I just don't. If I don't know you, we ain't talking on the phone. It's really simple. Thought Catalog. I did not expect to see that comment. in the chat. And you guys cover your ears because I'm so sorry. I laughed way too loud into that. I don't know unless I'm getting a call. No, I mean, if I don't know the person calling me, like if you're not programmed into my phone, or if it's like, if it's not a number that I recognize at all, I do not answer the phone. Like that's what voicemail is for. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I got a new phone number in like December, and for this entire time, the same person calls like twice a month, asking for some lady. It's clearly not me. I repeatedly tell them, that's not this phone number. Please stop calling me, and they still do it. And I always forget. I'm like, who is that calling me? They never leave a voicemail, but I recognize a number. So then the next time they call, I answer the phone thinking, God, this looks familiar. And then it's that person again. God, I should program it in where it's for the name dummy caller calling for someone that's not here. That's too long, but anyway. Let's see. I've been watching scam callers get trolled video, and now I am paranoid. Oh my gosh. 98% of the call unnamed leave no voicemail. I know. Yeah, so there's no point. Like if it's really important, if it's someone that knows me and I don't recognize the number, they'll be like, hey, it's ... Like maybe their phone died or their phone's broken. And they'll say, hey, it's me. I'm calling from this number. You know what I mean? Then you know. Or it's robotic. I know that a lot of people that I work with keep getting these scam calls or like telemarketers. And I keep telling them to just ask the telemarketers what they're wearing because then they don't call you back. Because my old neighbor used to do that all the time to bill collectors. He got a lot less phone calls. I'm working a call center, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, do people ask you what you're wearing? Yeah, it probably gets really awkward. Oh, see, if Autumn was still in the chat, she'd say squirrel right now. Okay, let me go back to here. Okay, this is titled Creepy Man Who Drugged Female Friend Stalked Us with a Metal Pipe. Does this sound familiar to anybody in the chat? Does anybody at all? Let's read it for a second here. Let's see if it sounds familiar. I am sometimes too nice to my friends. I tend to do favors to my friends, even if they seem pretty ridiculous, as long as it's not terribly out of my way. Most of the time it's, help, I'm drunk and need a ride home. Okay. Well, one night at like 1:30, I get a call. A very, very drunk friend of mine, Claire, is begging me to come pick her up and give her a ride home. The bar's closing, and she's too drunk to drive home. The bar she's at isn't too far from my house, about a 10 to 15-minute drive. But the issue is that she lives like 45 minutes on the other side of town. Claire's been extremely nice to me in the past, and I did owe her a solid, so at about 10 to 2, I grab my keys and my concealed carry and leave the house. I get to the bar at around 2:05, and she's sitting outside on a bench by the doorman. I've heard this before. Have you guys heard this before? I've heard this before. If you guys haven't heard it before, I'll keep reading it, but I've heard this before. So disappointing. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to run out of stuff to read because I've read it all. I likely had. Yeah, I'm going to go to the next one because I've heard it before. There's a guy that was trying to take her home and she wouldn't let him. A friend told him to go away. He followed them. Wow. I picked a winner. Picked a doozy. All right. This one is titled, Customer Tried to Kidnap Me After My Shift. I have not heard this one. I'm going to read it for a second and then see if it sounds at all familiar. Okay, for reference, I'm a 20-year-old Hooters girl and encounter creepy guys all the time, but never like this. I occasionally, sorry I read it like that, but I just couldn't help myself. I occasionally get asked for my number and go on dates with older men, but always politely turn them down without really upsetting anyone. Anyone who says anything perverted or uncomfortable gets kicked out, by the way, so that's a rare occurrence. I was working the night shift the other night and had a 40-something-year-old man sit at my table by himself. I greeted him the same way I greet all customers. Lots of smiling, laugh at their jokes, ask about their day, etc. He was really irritated and didn't seem to want to talk to me at all, so I assumed he was there to eat and go without all the chatting customers expect from the waitresses. Okay, I haven't heard this, by the way, so I'm hoping you guys haven't either. I offered a box and dessert at the end of his meal, but he just paid and got up to leave. When I brought back his change, he grabbed my arm and pulled me close and said, "I want you so badly," before letting go and walking out the door. I was so uncomfortable that I just stood there until he left. Well, apparently there's a drag race on my road. I don't know if you guys could hear that or not. Anyway, this was around 8 p.m., so I told the other girls, then got over it. We close at midnight on weekdays, so by the time I was ready to go, it was about 1:30 a.m. I carry a stun gun in my bag, smart girl, and normally have someone walk me to my car. But it was so late that nearly everyone had already left, and those that were still there were busy trying to clean up so they could leave. I had parked right in front of the doors, leaving my car only 5 feet away. So I decided to quickly get in my car without being walked. Being walked by someone else, okay. I always lock my doors out of habit and went to check my phone, which was dead. I have one of those crappy chargers in my car that only charge at a certain angle, and was trying to get my phone to charge when a truck pulled up behind me, blocking me in. I couldn't pull forward because the restaurant was right in front of me, and I couldn't back up because of his truck. At first, I thought it was my roommate who will still sometimes come and check on me if I get home too late to make sure I'm okay. It was a silver truck, which was what my roommate drives. But when I turned to look at it, it was a different model, which made my heart sink. This person then proceeded to honk their horn at me over and over for a good 5 minutes, trying to get me out of my car. When I refused because Mama didn't raise an idiot, he pulled up next to me, started knocking on my window, and yelled at me to get out of my car. It was the same guy that was at my table 5 hours earlier. My phone wouldn't turn on, so I switched into reverse and fast and furious my way out of the parking lot. He started following me with his truck, so I ran a red light and started speeding. He stopped at the light, and I drove for a bit before going home in case he caught up and tried following me into my house. I checked my car when I got home in case he hit my car and was trying to let me know, but I didn't see any marks. I don't know whether he was trying to rob me or kidnap me. But creepy man who waited 5 hours in the parking lot for me, I really hope we never meet again. Okay, I've never heard that one before. Anyone else? Hello. I don't see any commentary. I don't actually know if anyone's heard this. Is there anybody on here? Woo-hoo. No commentary. Okay. Oh, that was all caps. Oh, yeah. Wait, what happened? Okay, you haven't heard it? Okay, good. Success. All right. Okay, this one's titled, "Once You Read This, You'll Never Want to Make New Friends." All right. Okay, so a little info about me. I'm 21, and this happened 5 years ago when I just started my job at Scaffolders Laborer. I don't know what that is. After recently leaving school. Okay, this is why I don't know, because it's from a different... Okay. I'm from a small city in north of England on the border of Scotland, bit of nowhere place, really. So anyways, I started my job, and as any young lad, I was eager to make friends at my new workplace, and sure enough, I did. His name was Jay. He was a couple of years older than me, and we hit it off really well, so after a few weeks, he ended up coming around my house where I lived with my ma'am and younger sister, who was 13, in a bungalow-style house. Everyone liked Jay. He started to become a permanent fixture around the house. He would normally pop around, and I would go around his place a lot. After a while, my sister and ma'am started to notice things going missing, normally underwear. But no one thought much of it, as things often get misplaced. In the next few weeks, things got creepier. My sister screamed out one night that there was someone outside watching her, so I raced outside with my ma'am to find no one there. We were all majorly creeped out when we rang the police, but they advised to close all the curtains and lock all the windows and doors after that. We went and stayed at my grandmother's house for a few days until we calmed down a bit. So we had been back at our home and had CCTV installed and the works. Jay helped us put it all up, and he was great help, to be honest, more than happy to help us feel safe in our home again. So a few weeks have passed, and the incidents have just been pushed to the back of our minds as best we could. I went outside one morning to find footprints in the mud. We went back and checked the CCTV, and the creepy fuck whoever it was managed to get in and out in the only way the cameras were not facing. I know we should have put all the facts together. So once again, we were creeped out and all a bit on edge. At the very same night, my sister saw someone in the garden again and screamed. We rushed in, and I caught a glimpse of the guy. We called the police again, and they arrived 45 minutes later. They did a check of the garden and found a phone. They brought the phone inside to see if it was one of ours. It was not, but we all recognized it to be Jay's. The police later arrested him, and upon search of his home, they found a box in his attic with my sister and mother's underwear and lots of pictures of my sister, some of my mother. He ended up being jailed for 2 years, and after that, he moved away. That was creepy, not scary. Ex Wando, Brian Mathis. Hello. Creeper fuck. Yeah, no kidding. Never trust Jay. Well, that says at the end of the story, so I guess the moral of the story is just don't trust anyone. No, I mean, that's not... No. I think it's not don't trust anyone. I think it's like, maybe like, take clues from that incident and watch out for people that are way too helpful but give you the heebie-jeebie vibes. Listen to your gut. But sometimes your gut can be wrong too. I don't know. Anyway. Let's see. The title of this one says, Forced to Kiss a Man to Escape His Disgusting Clasp. I don't think I've heard this one, but if I have or you guys have, I'll check the chat and a couple of sentences in, and if we have, we'll just skip it. Damn Gypsy, hey! Don't be dumb, that's it, yeah. Stealing women's underwear among the signs of evolving sexual predators. I mean, why? Ugh. Underwear, though? Anyway. That could be a whole podcast subject. And one of the in the chat, we were discussing what exactly a podcast is. Like, so if anybody has input to that, because someone asked if I would do a podcast, but I'm wondering, is it just like a live chat, but one that you guys like listen to after I've recorded it? Is it me talking to myself, talking to others? Duchess Gives Horrible Advice podcast, which would be funny but I feel like it could be a lawsuit waiting to happen. I don't know. Anyway, this one's called Forced to Kiss a Man to Escape His Disgusting Clasp. Anyways, I was always a very introverted girl, and all of my close friends were over the internet. And I was dating, and still am, a lovely young man from Scotland. I live in the south of England at the time, and after 5 months of dating, I'd finally get to meet him in person. I knew he was a legitimate person, but being the anxious ball of nerves I am, I made sure to do it in a very public place. He was exactly who I knew him as, and was not the one who tried to kidnap me on that day. He had to catch a train back to London, where he was staying late that evening. And I, knowing the area like the back of my hand, and having walked around it thousands of times before at much younger ages, walked him back to this train station, said my goodbyes, and left, crying, not knowing when I'd see him again, and made my way toward the bus stop that'd take me home. That was until a very tall Indian man, about 6 foot, roughly in his 40s, came up to me as I was crossing the street and hugged me. I'm going to pause right there because I think Eric Alden made this comment the other day. If someone writes in the story a race, should it be included when you're reading it out? And since I didn't catch it in time, I read it anyway. But my personal feeling is if it's not prudent, if the story can survive without the subject of race being involved, then I think it can be skipped completely. Unless it's crucial to the story, like it's about ethnicity, I don't think it's relevant to the story. I think it adds a lot of negative stereotypes to any scenario, but I'll let you guys discuss that too. So we're going to skip that part. Anyway, young girl just said goodbye, sees this older man, and he approaches her. Okay. So this older man came up to her as she was crossing the street and hugged her. So now she says, now I was beside myself with sorrow at my love's departure, and the hug made me cry even more, despite all the red flags going off in my head. People in this area have been known to be quite friendly, even with strangers, and I just had to pray that he was one of them. He took my hands and held my wrists so I couldn't walk away. I began to panic at this point, too weak to break this man's hold on me, too choked up to call for help. He asked me what was wrong and told me, a sweetheart like you shouldn't be on the streets crying. Come with me. I can make it all better. I immediately declined, saying that I had just had to say goodbye to my boyfriend and that I just wanted to go home. He wouldn't let go of my wrists after that and tightened his grip to a painful amount. He told me he would give me things that would make me feel better and that I needed to come with him. I continuously declined, praying someone would walk down the street, usually very busy, but not at 8 p.m. when the shops in the area are all closed. And to my luck, nobody did. The man eventually started demanding that I give him a kiss and he'd let me go. Keep in mind, I had only just had my first kiss with the boy I loved earlier that day. And now I was being made to kiss this disgusting man, or else who knows what would have happened to me. I did as much as I hated it, with every bone in my body, and he let me go, to my surprise. I ran as fast as I could to the bus stop, immediately calling my boyfriend and telling him what happened. He still beats himself up to this day about it, saying he should have made sure I got home first. I always tell him there's no way he could have known what would happen, and having walked that route so many times in the past, I never thought that something like that would have happened to me. It troubles me to this day, and I'm still very curious or very nervous going anywhere alone. Granted, I use the event as a comedic point toward the common statement, never meet strangers off the internet, but the whole ordeal definitely makes me very uncomfortable still. Well, that one was fucked up. Had a good ending though, but hey, Case Lee. Let's see here. You scroll back up here. Antonio's was the last thing I read. Phantom says, I trust my gut feeling mostly I'm right, but hate it at times. Damn gypsy. I had a roommate steal my underwear once. That's so creepy. Casey says, what's up? Hexwando, maybe the guy was part of a grooming gang set. The story is set in the UK. Am I live? I am, Bernadette. Hey. I'm glad you made it. I don't know how much longer I am live because it's been almost an hour now. Let me see. Trying to do math. I've been up since probably started waking up around 4. I don't know. We'll see how much longer I can go here. Bernadette's so nice. If you guys don't know, Bernadette is very sweet, very supportive. And I know that there's YouTubers that have like hundreds of thousands and millions, and I just don't. So I really, really value you guys' support. If I ever become famous someday, well, I'll have to have a meet and greet, or just have one like if I'm in an area that you're in, like before them. But I don't travel a lot. And in case you guys didn't know, I'm a super big homebody. So like home is my, I don't know, what's the word for like when home is your paradise? Like I know like people like to get away. Like I like really beautiful pictures of beaches far, far away. But really, I like my home to be my oasis. Like, this is my area. Luxie, panty raid for Redwall. Luxie says, I'm finishing up typing a true story for you. Email. I hope you guys all watched the video that I put up for the art contest and the story contest all of August and all of September. You can submit it for like a 2-month time frame. And then I'm going to read the stories. I've got one piece of art, which is actually from Hexwando. And I've gotten one story from the Schmeister, actually sent it to me. So I've only gotten one of each. So far, they're winning stuff. Yeah, Safe Haven. Yeah, that's right. Bernadette, where the heart is. Sanctuary. We go to St. Ignace. I've heard that was really beautiful. There's a few places I keep seeing, like, is it Fiji or is it it's absolutely beautiful. There's a page, I don't know if it's on Twitter too, but I accidentally saw it on Facebook. It's called The Most Beautiful Cities in the World. And it literally, like, each day they post something with the bluest water I've ever seen in my life. And it's gorgeous. And it makes me dream of going there. And if I went there, I literally would sit there in that water and stand for like as many days as I could until someone forced me to leave there and come back home. Just stare at it. Let it hypnotize me. All right. Let's see. Let's see if this next story is worth a damn. This one's called High as Fuck People Driving Up and Down Our Rural Street. How's this scary? Let me scan through before I disappoint you guys again. Oh. Oh, no. No, that doesn't look scary. I'm just going to skip that one. I'll save you the misery if you just give me a minute to scan through there. There we go. Okay. Hey, Logan. Hey. You know, I've seen so many. I was obsessed with Hawaii, but I don't know if you were here for a live stream I did like about a year ago. I had a nightmare about Hawaii, and it was so unrelated to Hawaii, but it kind of like calmed my obsession with Hawaii down. Had nothing to do with Hawaii. It was a really confusing dream about my parents when they got divorced. So, yeah, But anyway, it like calmed my obsession down with Hawaii. And again, it had nothing to do with Hawaii, but it was like somehow involved my parents making me choose which island to live on because one lived on one island and one lived on the other. And they were making me choose. Like, so it like, I don't know, doesn't make any sense. But anyway. Damn Gypsy said, I heard Yellowstone Park is next to blow. Oh. Hawaii is still blowing its top. Oh, really? Yikes. That's terrifying. When I was a little kid, I was obsessed with volcanoes and lava. And dinosaurs, too, but... Whoa. Oh, you got to skydive. I am jealous. The landscape has changed forever. Yeah. Is it toxic? Somebody was saying something about people like being really close to the lava and then like literally roasting marshmallows above it, which I thought was insane. But is that toxic? Does anybody know? Or is it totally fine? It's just heat. Hey, you know what? I just read that really fast and for some reason thought it said Spooky Bob's story time. I'm like, that's not right. My eyes are tired, so they're playing tricks on me. Oh, it is toxic. Oh, maybe corny, but you staying hi to me made my day. You know what? I don't know if everyone else has felt that way, but I'm not saying that astrology is a perfect science or anything real, because you can all have your opinion, but someone said something about Mercury in retrograde again, and it seems to mess with everyone, so I'm saying maybe that's what it is, because, yeah, I wasn't having a great week. Someone that I grew up with actually passed away, and that's just rough when it happens. Happened a lot, actually, but doesn't make it any easier. And when you know someone for really your whole life, it just I don't know. There's nothing I can say besides that. A little fresh. About to be bedtime. Oh. Yeah. I'm not here to depress anybody. I'm here to entertain you. Makes me feel better too. Okay, so this one is called Eugene. We'll just see what this says. If you guys have heard it, I'll check back in a second after a few sentences, and if you've heard it, then I'll stop. Because honestly, whoever's just joining us, we've bumped into a little, you know, I find something and then see if we've read it or not, or if it's been read or not. So by me or someone else. So anyway, this one's called Eugene. Excuse me. I work for a major stationery brand managing a pop-up store in a major city district. Well, okay. Way to be vague. Anyway, we're situated in the middle of a large shopping center and have an open plan layout like most pop-up stores, which means people and walk through freely. Okay, I think they meant people come and walk through freely. They skipped a few words there. The brand I work for are all about giving the best customer service and going above and beyond the usual retail requirements to help out our customers. Being new and eager to show my loyalty, I made sure to follow this code with all customer interactions, which can be difficult in retail, but nonetheless, I stuck to it. Now, the first time I met Eugene, he was wearing a very old black three-piece suit, red tie, top hat with a feather. I'm not shitting you. I would put him at about the 75 to 85 age bracket, and on this day, he had gray hair and a walking stick to help him walk. This is important. Okay, I'm going to check the chat to see if you've heard this. Oh, thank you, Logan. No one's heard this? Okay. Okay. Walking stick. Being in work mode, I greeted him with "You're looking snappy today. Are you going to a special event? or something to that effect. Now, something to keep in mind is that the center is filled with noise and sometimes makes it hard to hear. And I'm sure everyone has done that thing of when you heard what another person has said and you just laugh or nod rather than ask them to repeat. So when he replied quite softly and I couldn't hear what he had just said, I nodded and smiled. This was my first mistake because, determined from conversations to follow as well as other people's interactions, Eugene had actually asked me if I had been abused as a child. When I nodded, not hearing what he had said, he assumed that I was saying yes to his question, which opened the opportunity for him to tell me all about his abusive childhood in great detail. Honestly, at the time, I was too shocked and dedicated to staying in a professional character that I just let him go on. And eventually he left. Over the next couple of weeks, he would continually come and discuss this issue with me, probing me for my own detail as well as asking me when my lunch break is so he can have tea with me. Yes, looking at it now, it was creepy. It was creepy, but I just thought he was old and lonely and wasn't too bothered to give him 10 minutes of my ranting. Of ranting. However, things got weird. He came in one day with completely bleached blonde hair and wearing a hat wearing what I can only describe as young modern clothing. He still had his walking stick, which he still seemed to be heavily dependent on. And when he came up to me on this particular day, instead of diving straight into memory lane, this conversation occurred. Eugene says, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I say, "Hi, Eugene. You're looking summery today. What can I help you with?" Eugene says, "I said, do you have a boyfriend?" And I say, "I'm happily engaged, in fact, which is exciting. What about yourself?" Eugene, "Oh, no, not me. I'm interested in girls who haven't had the same life experience as me." I say, "Well, I'm sure you will find someone, Eugene." At this point, he starts to get uncomfortably close to me. I say, "Was there anything I can help you with?" Eugene, "I have found you. Be with me. Can you marry me?" I say, "Oh, well, that's a lovely gesture, but as I said, I'm engaged. Thank you, though." I start to move away and pretend to clean. He follows me. At this stage, the center is quiet of customers, and I'm desperately trying to find a way out of this conversation without being rude or upsetting. Eugene, "If you weren't with him, you would be with me." I say, "I would like to travel, actually, Eugene, so probably not." Eugene shouts, "I want to travel! When do you finish work? We can head up after that." At this point, I'm in fight or flight mode and mumble something about working late. Thankfully, a passing customer comes to ask me about a product, and I move away to serve him. Eugene leaves. After I'm alone again, I call security and tell them what happened and that I feel extremely uncomfortable. They say next time he comes, call them. I also inform the other staff working at the center what happened. Security walks me to my car that evening. I get home safely. 2 weeks pass. No sign of Eugene. Huge relief. I assume he'd given up. It was a pretty quiet day on this one particular day, so I decide to do some serious cleaning of our shelves. I'm cleaning for about 15 minutes on my knees before I have to grab some more paper towel. I stand up and turn, and directly behind me is Eugene. He was so close that I could feel his breath. And even as I write this, I can feel the same cold shock sweep through my body that I felt on that day. I was fucking terrified. How long had he been watching me? Today he was wearing all black. Joggers, t-shirt, and even his runners were black. He had absolutely no walking stick in sight, and he was just staring at me blankly. I had pretty much lost all professionalism at this point and said to him, I will help him after I make a quick phone call. Thankfully, he didn't follow me, and as soon as I put the phone in my ear, he strode. Yes, he fucking strode off. Security answered and were actually right there, and he escorted him right out of the center. At this point, I was so terrified and shocked that I went and stood in a neighboring shop When security came back, he asked me how long I had known him for. I told him I only knew him as a customer and nothing else. The security guard then said to me the whole time he kept saying, "She's mine. She's making a big mistake. She's going to be with me. She takes the fucking bus." Somehow he knew what fucking bus I took, and at that point I just burst into tears and called my fiance to come and get me and called a girl from another store to come and take over. Since then, he's only come into the center a couple of times. Each time, security will come and inform me and hang around my store until he leaves. Ooh, that was kind of freaky, but I mean, it seems not bad. Bernadette, that's fascinating. Bernadette, you could write a whole book on your life, I think, just from the brief things that you've told me. Logan, thank you. Definitely heard this one before. A good one. I hadn't heard that one before. That was freaky. Like, that's one of those ones that seems harmless, but then it ends up being like, wrong day, wrong time. Story could have ended a lot horribly. Especially since he had acted like he was really dependent on a walking stick, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. Bernadette, thank you. My throat's actually really sore. I keep sucking down root beer. I really should have made tea, but I realized too late after I scheduled the live stream that I couldn't start it. So I'm going to try one more, and then we're probably going to call it quits for the night. Let me see here. That wasn't bad. It was really long, though. I think that story could have been told a lot shorter, quicker. That makes sense. Let me see here. Ooh. This one's titled, "I Know You're Alone in There." This happened in May of 2007, and for reference, I'm female, was 20 at the time, and weighed about 115 pounds, so overpowering me would have been extremely easy. I'm going to pause right there and say, weight has nothing to do with fighting skills, so don't ever discount yourself, man or woman, if you're small, that you can't fight someone. I think that's a mind trick that people sell themselves. So moving on. I live in a city in Northern Ireland, and at the time, I was best friends with my ex-boyfriend. My ex-boyfriend's cousin's band decided to play a small gig way out in the countryside, so we had to drive for about an hour or more to get to the location. We arrived, and it was literally a field amongst fields, smack back in the back arse of nowhere. Apparently, one of the members of the band knew the owner of this field, and apparently we had permission to be there. I never checked, so I don't know. Anyway, there were several cars already when we arrived. Me, my ex, his sister, 2 friends, we all traveled together. We had packed the car full of tents, sleeping bags, a ton of alcohol. The plan was to watch the band, blast some tunes, have a bit of a party, spend the night in the field in our tents. Now, the way the field was laid out was kind of like an L shape. All the tents were set up and around the corner, and the band had set up a generator across the field on the other side. I don't know about you, but that description was still pretty unclear to me, but maybe it's just because I'm tired. Anyway, then beside where the tents were, there was a hole in a bush to the other field. So we went through here to go to the toilet, so we had some privacy from everyone. There was roughly 30 to 40 people in the field, and the band started playing. We started drinking and generally having a really great time. Anytime I needed to pee, I went with my ex's sister or a friend. It was just a few minutes. None of us wanted to go alone, even though we were in the middle of nowhere. I was sharing a tent with my ex for the night, and at about 3 a.m., I decided I'd had enough and wanted to go back to the tent to go to sleep. I told him I was going and made my journey across the field to the tents. As I got into the tent and pulled the zipper down, I felt someone tugging at it and assumed it was my ex, until I heard an unfamiliar voice say, "Let me in," quite aggressively. I called out, "Who are you?" And he said, "I know you're alone in there. You can't hold the zipper down forever. Let me in." Over the next minute or so, I was gripping on the zipper of the tent and holding both sides of the fabric together to prevent this guy from getting into my tent. A couple of times he managed to get the zipper up a bit, but I always managed to get it back down. And for the life of me, I have no idea how I managed to do this. The whole time we were struggling against each other over the zipper, and he kept saying things like, "I'm going to get in there eventually, bitch. And it's going to be worse if you don't fucking let me in." I was petrified. Then I heard my ex-boyfriend's booming voice shout, "What the fuck are you doing at that tent?" Then I heard a smack and a thud, and my ex called out to me to see if I was okay. My ex saw what was happening, punched the guy, and he fell. He had watched me walk to the tents and watched this dude follow behind, assuming that he was going to the loo, but he kept watching him to make sure. When he saw him turn toward the tent, he came over to make sure I was okay, and thank God he did. Anyway, a huge fight broke out. Then one of the creepy guy's friends ended up hitting him too. Turns out he was known for this kind of creepy behavior and had been in trouble with the law for sexually harassing women in the past. My ex's cousin had said that he was staying over at her house with her brother one night when she woke up to find him standing in her dorm room watching her sleep. I really don't know what his intentions were had he managed to fight his way in. I think we all know what his intentions were. No one breaks into a tent and says, "I'm really cold. I need to cuddle with someone so I can warm up." Like, if there's anyone that's ever done that, I want to see a story about that somewhere where it says, like, "I was just really cold. I'm so sorry." My God. Kale Dennison, hello. Roger Hensley, hello. Hello. I'm always curious what time zone you guys are in. It's 12:47 where I'm at. I'm like rounding up to like, I can't say I've been awake since 4 a.m. because I didn't get up at 4 a.m. I know I went back to sleep. I know I looked at my phone at the clock and I must have fallen back asleep for a little bit. So I'm going to say 6-ish. I don't know. I feel really tired. 11:48. Ah. It's 10 p.m. Ah. Luckies. Same time zone. All right. 10:48. Oh, yeah. All right. Had anybody heard that one before? That one story I just read? I had never heard that before. But, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have broken into, someone's room or something because you were chilly. Raise your hand if you've done that, because if I'm being, judgmental because someone just needs a sweater, let me know. But most of the time it's so someone needs a punch in the throat. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. Oh. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let me see what the next one is. I'm just scanning through this one. It was a really, really long story, so I'm going to skip that one because I don't think my voice can take it. It's like 3.5. No, that's 4 pages long, so I'm not going to do that to us. I'm just not, especially if it's something we've heard before. That's just mean. Okay, this is titled, "After This Experience, Never Going on a Dating App Again." Raise your hand if you know anybody that said that and then they immediately went on it again. Anybody? That's pretty cool. That's cool, Bernadette. Zena. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Into the story. For some background information, I live in a small apartment complex right outside my campus with some friends. I'm also a 20-year-old girl. So all my friends were always bashing me for never meeting up with any boys or going. I'm going to I'm going to assume going on a date because they ended the sentence at going. Anyway, I got sick of it. I didn't want to be the little friend who stayed home and ate pizza while my friends were out on dates with boys. Listen to me, young women and men. If you want to stay home on Friday night and eat pizza, do it. Because then you won't have to write this horrible story that's going to ensue because all your friends told you you were ... because you didn't do ... Repeat after me. Fuck off. Tell your friends to fuck off if they're telling you to do stuff. Just stay home and eat pizza. Be you. Anyway. I didn't want to be the little friend who stayed home and ate pizza while my friends were on a date with boys. So I signed up for Plenty of Fish. Oh my God. Anyway. Now, I'm not the type of person who would say yes to any random stranger. But let me guess, she did anyway. They had to be nice looking. They had to have plenty of photos of themselves, which could be fake, by the way. Google, hello. And we both had to have at least 2 common interests. Jesus Christ. So, with those rules in my head, I psyched myself up to join the world of online dating. Within a few days, I already had 2 boys I was talking to. Just 2? Just 2. Listen, I've been on Plenty of Fish. Way long time ago. I'm a married person. That's actually how I met my husband, but that's not my point. Anyway, just be careful out there dating people. Anyway, one said he was a doctor. Kind of hard to believe because he was 20 and he wouldn't pay for a dating site. Come on. And one said he worked as a construction guy. Easier to believe. I didn't like the doctor guy. I didn't like that doctor guy was lying to me. I mean, he could have been truthful, but I know they got a lot of student loans to pay off, so I don't know. Anyways, one day I was getting crap from my roommates, the construction guy, who we'll call Dan, messaged me on a messaging app we were using and asked if I wanted to go out for a bite to eat. I told my roommates where I was going and who I was going with. All things someone should do so someone knows if you've been abducted. I mean, you should just tell people just in case something happens, like you could fall down and break your ankle on your way out the door anywhere and you don't know the stranger. Anyway, I even had a check-in time so that when my roommate texted me if things were good, I could say some silly code word that meant things were good or bad. Hopefully bad too. Okay. If I responded another code word, it meant help, get me out of this. And if I didn't use code words, then she could call the police for help. So I quickly dolled myself up and got ready for the date. I put my hair up in a classy bun, leaving strips of hair hanging down around my glasses. I put on a nice white blouse and some black pants and was ready to go. I'm too tired and I can't even read these in a scary voice, but I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be duh, but I'm just assuming. Anyway, I jumped in my car and headed out to the restaurant where Dan had chosen. It was just out of my town, but it was only a 15-minute drive from my apartment. I feel like I've heard this before. I arrived at the restaurant and saw him almost immediately. He was wearing nice clothes and looked just like his photographs. He was waiting just outside the restaurant doors for me. Oh no, I'm getting goofy tired. Sorry, everyone in advance. His eyes lit up when they saw me. He walked over to me and smiled. We chatted a little bit outside, since it was summer and not cold, and then walked inside. We ate dinner, talked about our life and things and how school was going. I got the text from my friend, but since everything was all good, I sent the code word back. Dan talked about how much he liked his job and things, and altogether it was pretty nice. Except for one thing. Dan was boring. He didn't do anything exciting or really talk enthusiastically about anything, and it was boring. It was an average day, and I honestly didn't care to go on anymore. Wow. The next day, I woke up to the feeling of my phone vibrating non-stop. I looked at it and realized it was vibrating so much it had fallen off my dresser. I almost laughed. Then I saw all the messages were from Dan. At first, they were all saying how much fun he had had, and that he would really like to go out again. But then the messages took a turn. They got violent. and angry, and that I wasn't responding. It was 7 in the frickin' morning. I was sleeping. I noped out of that situation. I texted him back and said I had been sleeping, and that no, I was not going on any more dates with him. I was just about to block his profile on both sites when I got a final message. Watch your back. At first, I was really creeped out. But then I thought, since I had him blocked, that all my accounts were deleted so he could do nothing. Wrong. Later that day, I saw a text from a random number telling me how pretty I looked in my blue PJs. I glanced outside just in time to see none other than Dan running down my road. How did he get my number? I thought wearily. I blocked that number and continued what I was doing. Later that night, I fell asleep pretty early and woke up to my phone text alert going crazy. It was from the number I had just blocked earlier that day. There were dozens of messages saying how I was going to get it. And I quickly showed all my roommates the messages. They all told me that I should go to the police. But since I was a stupid person, I didn't. I blocked the number again and went back to sleep. But once again, I woke up to my phone buzzing. I didn't wait. I jumped in my car and drove all the way down to the police station. Once there, they told me that they couldn't do much to help me and just told me to block the number. I did. At least I had it on record. Nothing happened for a few days. The number stayed blocked on my phone for a while. But then the pictures started. There were pictures of my house, of me in my house, my work, my car. I went back to the police and finally was able to get a restraining order against Dan. I never received any messages from Dan again after that, and now I never, ever use dating websites. Okay. I don't know. I feel like there could have been a lot more to that to make it scarier. Like, maybe they should have embellished that one. I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting goofy. Pizza time is safe party time. Mm-hmm. Good show. I don't know. Before we get off of here, which I clearly need to do soon, what Element, I think he left already, but was talking about doing a podcast. And what are you guys' thoughts on that? And what exactly does that entail? Because he said it, or Antonio said it's like a live stream that's pre-recorded, but not like, so it's just basically, oh, you love how I read that one? It's because I'm losing my mind tired. But anyways, I'm interested in the podcast. I'm just like not sure. Should I do it? Do I do that on YouTube? What the heck do I do? Thoughts? Discuss? Anyone? I'm drinking root beer too, so there's no caffeine in it. It's helping my throat is sore. I'm not sure. There's such a delay, like when I'm talking and then when you guys respond. So I like pause and then my brain trails off to another thought that I'm having. But I'm really trying to stick with the podcast thought because it's interesting to me. I'll look into it. I'll Google it and figure it out. But film yourself talking into a microphone. That sounds really boring. That sounds super boring. Just like right now. Like you guys would watch it with my headset on, staring at the computer screen. Ding, 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 ding. Am I going to get copyrighted for doing that? She does? I've never seen her do that. Did she just start doing podcasts? I think of podcasts, I think of being in a studio with other people. Me too. So I feel like it should be like a once in a while thing where I have to pick some people to do a podcast with. So maybe I should do patrons first and pick a subject that they want to do. And we'll see how that goes. I listened to some of her video. What do I look like? I look like a nerd. Bernadette, I thought you'd seen me before anyway. Or my Instagram. Huh. I'm trying to think about how to do that. I'm going to think about that. And special guests. Starring this person that I ran into at the Dollar Tree and my dog Trixie. We're just gonna be like, so how are you doing? Good. How are you doing? Pretty good. Well, that's it for this week's podcast. Join us next week when I talk to the person that delivers our water at work and this guitar. Hell Freezer does podcasts. Oh, that's very nice, Logan. Kaylee Elise's podcast channel on YouTube I'm subbed to is called Thoughtcraft. Oh, maybe that's why. Because I didn't know it was a separate channel. See, I like it when people just keep all their stuff in the same channel. Then I don't miss their stuff because I feel like if there's too many different channels, I'm going to miss it. I just am. It's hard enough for me to keep up with their regular content. Yeah, she is. Starring a nobody. Thanks, Phantom Zone. Keeping me grounded. All right. Foot fungus. The fungus among us. I gotta go to bed. All right. I'm wrapping it up now. I hope to get up a serial killer Saturday for you tomorrow. Hopefully not serial killer Sunday. I have one that I have been avoiding doing. Someone wanted me to do the Beast of Bastille. The problem of that is the fact that they can't. It's never been pinned down to one person. It's believed to be a series of people, so that's been requested a bunch of different times by different people, and it can't be nailed down to one person, and so it's sporadic and all over the place. So let's find a different way to do that one. But I do have a subject for Serial Killer Saturday for tomorrow. But do my uncle. Man, you guys are already cutting me out here. There is a YouTube channel called Serial Killer Podcast. Dude, are they stealing my content? I don't know anybody else that does Serial Killer Saturday. I mean, I want to trademark it because that's my thing. I have merch for that even. I have white merch with blood splatters all over it. I don't know if anybody's ever bought that. It's never going to dull content. Wow. Okay. So we're going to say bye now. Thanks for everybody for coming. I really appreciate it when you guys come on. And I had a minute. And I know a lot of people were upset they didn't get to the live stream last Saturday, but I had a lot of stuff that I needed to get done. And I really wanted to make sure that you guys got to hear Evan the Nerd's stories. So when I get used to the new software, I'm going to make a little video with his stories on there because not very many people heard the last live stream with his stories in it. And so I want to make sure that gets out there too, because he's got a lot more stories and I really want to get to them. And I have stories from so many of you guys in my folder to read yet. And again, I have one story submitted for the story contest, which has to be fiction, by the way. And I have one piece of art submitted for the art contest. So far, I have one of each. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and hope you guys watch Serial Killer Saturday. And I'm going to say love you. And bye. Bye. Bye.